Welcome back, Careblazer. Today I want to talk about a theme that came up in my live Q&A sessions a few weeks ago. As many of you know, a couple weeks ago I hosted several free live Q&A sessions and a lot of you showed up and asked me some pretty amazing questions. But one of the themes that came up was Careblazers knowing that their loved one, watching their loved one do a behavior that was not in their loved one's best interest, but the Careblazer just did not have the fight in them, did not want to tackle, did not want to battle trying to change their loved one. Two specific examples that come to mind were one Careblazer who was struggling with their loved one drinking beer, and another Careblazer whose loved one with dementia was smoking cigarettes. So what I want to do in this video is talk to you about why it's totally okay for you to choose your battles, why it's okay to let some things go, and how that does not take away anything about how amazing you are as a Careblazer. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to share my 4-step framework to help you kind of make your decision about whether or not you want to tackle this behavior or whether this might be something you want to let go. Make sure if you haven't already, you hit the red subscribe button on your screen. It's completely free and it helps other people find my channel. So there's a chance that there's another struggling caregiver out there who does not yet know these videos exist. And every time somebody hits that red subscribe button, it makes it more likely that somebody else will be able to find this channel. So thank you. Okay, let me share the 2 questions that I'm referring to from the live Q&A that I want to address, and then I'll share that 4-step framework that you can apply to your own life. The first question was, my husband who has been diagnosed with dementia is a non-admitted alcoholic, minimum 3 beers per day. I'm scared that if I insist on stopping the beer, I might be opening up something I can't handle, but I know he shouldn't be drinking while on antidepressants. Suggestions or advice would be greatly appreciative. The other question was, my problem is my husband, who is living with Alzheimer's, is a smoker for all his life. I am concerned he will burn our house or himself. I do limit his cigarettes and make sure none are available for him during the night, but I don't know what else to do. I buy the cigarettes because he gets very angry if he doesn't have them. I know that's stupid of me, but I'm not up to the challenge for the arguments if he is without cigarettes. Any helpful suggestions will be wonderful. On the surface, most people are going to hear those situations and think, well, yeah, smoking and drinking is not healthy for anybody, let alone an older adult with dementia, like something should be done. But what you can hear in these Careblazers questions are, I can't do it right now. I don't want to do it right now. It's not in me. I'm not up for this challenge, right? Maybe at some point in the future, they'll be up for it and they'll change their mind. But right now, they just don't feel like they're at a place where they're going to be able to battle. And if you're in a situation where your loved one doesn't smoke or doesn't drink, that's okay. Insert whatever unhealthy behavior your loved one might be doing into the scenario, and the 4-step framework I provide can help you in your situation. So first, I just want every Careblazer struggling with whether or not they want to make a change or try to change their loved one to check in with yourself. Know yourself. Is this something you want to handle right now? Is this something you want to put on your plate right now? If safety is not an immediate, imminent risk, can you just let this go? Now, some of you might say, well, the one person smoking, that's a pretty big safety risk. The caregiver is concerned that her husband's going to burn the house down. So shouldn't something be done about this right away? Shouldn't she try to tackle him not smoking right away? The answer there is kind of yes and no. There is a safety risk that needs to be addressed here, but it doesn't necessarily need to be addressed by getting the loved one to stop smoking. So some of the things I told this Careblazer were, she's doing an amazing job already. She's controlling his access to the cigarettes. He doesn't have access to the cigarettes. He doesn't have access to the lighters or the matches or whatever sets the fire. She is the one who gives him the cigarettes. So when she gives it to him, she knows at that moment he's smoking. She could be more vigilant and watch him during that time. I also talked to her about making sure the home had functioning, working smoke detectors with fully operating batteries so that if it did get to the point where something were to happen, at least the smoke detectors would go off. By him not having direct access to the cigarettes or to the lighters or to the matches, you cut down a big safety risk right there. But isn't it unhealthy for somebody with dementia to smoke and to drink, especially if they're on certain medications? So with the Careblazer who was talking about her husband drinking beer on antidepressants and she was really concerned about it, some of the things I told her is to continue controlling the alcohol. She's the one giving him the alcohol. So similar to the cigarettes, this is a really good strategy. She's the one providing it to him. So when she provides it to him, she can control maybe some of the beers are non-alcoholic without him knowing. Maybe she prolongs how long it takes from the time he asks for a beer to the time she gives it to him. So she might say, yep, sure thing, let me go get that, and get distracted a little bit doing something else and say, oh man, I forgot. Okay, here we go. Right? So you're just trying to extend the time between each drink. She can also pour the beer into a cup, for instance, but then not really pour the entire beer into a cup, so he's not getting the full beer. There are different strategies and tactics to take here that don't involve completely cutting it out altogether. The other thing about alcohol use is that it can be very dangerous for somebody for anybody who drinks a lot to stop cold turkey. That's not recommended at all. It can lead to seizures, it can lead to death. So we have to be careful that if you really want to tackle this type of issue, that you talk to the healthcare provider and say, this is how much my loved one's drinking. I'd like to slowly find a way to get him off of it in a safe way. You can also talk to the doctor about, just be upfront. Hey, you prescribed my loved one this antidepressant. He also drinks 3 beers a day. Is this a concern? A lot of times in our own minds, we are so fearful or concerned about really big adverse side effects that might be more scary in our mind than they are in real life. And so we just have to just go to the source. There are so many people who are probably drinking while on medications and they shouldn't be. So you just have to decide, is that a consequence or a risk or a side effect you want to take with your loved one with dementia? But the way that you calm some of those anxieties and fears is just to go straight to the expert and say, how much of a concern is this? Also, when it comes to drinking, you have to be careful. Like if you're not going to battle it, then you just realize, okay, well, drinking for somebody who has dementia, well, for anybody, but especially for somebody who has dementia, it's going to impact their balance, their ability to walk. So you want to be more mindful and vigilant when they are drinking, if they're trying to get up or they're able to walk on their own, that they're safe. Similar to the smoking, when the person's smoking, that caregiver is a little bit more vigilant and observing of that person to make sure that they put it out correctly. So those were the gists of part of my response to those Careblazers who were struggling with these 2 things, but I want to share with you my 4-step framework that you can apply to whatever situation you're going through or considering changing in your loved one. Number 1, know yourself. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling emotionally? Is this something you feel you could take on? Because a lot of times we don't want our loved ones doing something, but we are so exhausted and burned out and stressed and overwhelmed that when we try to make changes, let's say we think we're up for the battle, it ends up having backlash. It doesn't go well, right? Because we're so overwhelmed and stressed that after 1 or 2 attempts and it doesn't go well, we're kind of giving up, we're getting more frustrated. It's going to lead to more difficult behaviors in your loved one. It's going to make things so much more difficult for you. So step number 1, know yourself. Check in with yourself. Is this something you feel like you are in a calm enough space, a peaceful enough space that you are willing to tackle this? Step number 2, consider safety. Is this an imminent safety risk that has to be addressed immediately? And if so, is there a way for you to address that risk without requiring your loved one to agree to change? If there's not an immediate safety risk or there's a way you can reduce that risk, then give yourself permission not to tackle that issue. For example, someone smoking and not putting out the cigarettes properly, that's a safety risk. But if you can reduce that risk by them not having direct access to cigarettes, lighters, matches, and you controlling when they get them and watching them when they smoke, that reduces that risk right away or significantly. Step number 3, proceed without judgment. Notice how in both of those statements that were submitted to me, they used words like, I know that's stupid of me, or I know I shouldn't. Judging yourself for being human, for not wanting to deal with something or tackle something where you know is going to be very difficult and you're going to get a lot of pushback, that means nothing bad about you. That doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you're human and we all have our limits. So just proceed whatever you decide without that negative judgment of yourself. And number 4, reassess with time. So you might not want to tackle it right now. Maybe at some point in the future, you might want to reconsider that that's something you can try to adjust and change. It's okay to honor how you feel in the moment. It doesn't mean you have to stay that way forever. I do hope this video has helped you. Careblazer, keep up the great work. Be kind to yourself. I'll be back next week with a new video. All right, bye.